Hey folks, this is something new for us on this channel. I've actually re-edited a series of videos I put out on the Vic High Country earlier in the year. I've been putting them out sequentially since the trip, and I thought I'd bring them all together in one feature-length episode. It's a bit of an experiment, if you like. It's been quite a labour of love, this one. Obviously the trip was awesome, but then bringing it together over multiple months into a single video it's been huge, actually, and haven't done this before, and certainly put our systems to the test. 2 hours plus video, there's a lot of data. What I thought I'd do is I'd bring it all together in a single episode, feature length, re-edited. There's some new footage in this that hasn't been seen before. Cut out a few bits and pieces, swap things around a little bit. So I just once again take the opportunity to thank everyone for your support. Our emerging channel is getting out there, and we appreciate the part you play in that. It would certainly be awesome if you can share it amongst your networks, get it out there a bit wider, and help promote our channels. I think when this video comes out, we'll be deep in the heart of Australia, poking around in the deserts, trying to avoid some of the water that's lying around north, south, east and west. I'm not sure how we're going to get there yet, but that's where we'll be. So there might be a bit of a gap between videos coming out while we're on the road. We don't have capability to edit on the road. In fact, I don't want to edit while I'm on the road. Sit back and enjoy this feature-length episode of the ultimate Victorian high country journey. And I think it's quite fitting that bringing this final episode of our Vic High Country ultimate journey together. About to go to lay to rest a good mate of mine who's recently passed away, who spent his life in the high country, and he grew up there, he worked there, and the high country played a major part in his life, and we shared some of those moments. So I'd like to pay my respects to my good mate Buck. Literally in an hour's time we're going to go and lay him to rest. A long battle with illness just gives us a moment to ponder what's important to us, and yeah, anyway, good to know you, Buck. Here we go, just pulled up. We thought we'd have half a cup. It's that time of the day. Slow getting away this morning, but anyway, we're here. The plan is to do a bit of a loop up through the high country, a bit of country that we actually don't spend a lot of time in. So over in the northeast, the plan is to go up to the Tamboritha, Howqua Roads, down through Kingbelly, get over into the Howqua Valley and poke around a bit up on the Mount Stirling, Clear Hills, a few huts up in there. Pretty excited to have a look at. We've got a week to do it. We'll see where we get to. Come along with us. We leave Lacola and we've got about 22 kilometres of bitumen following the Wellington River. This is a great part of the high country here, is along the Wellington River. Great campsites. It tends to get a bit warm down here, the heat hangs in the valley. So good swimming holes. And it's free. Pretty good. Our plan is we're going to follow the Tamboritha road up. It'll turn into gravel about the 22 kilometre mark. Then we got the long arduous climb up Tamboritha Road up to Tamboritha Saddle, and it's a bit of a haul, can get a bit chopped out, corrugated. So this is great access into the southern fall, southern approach if you like, to the Alpine National Park. After about an hour in the saddle, it was time to stretch the legs. McMichael's hut provided the perfect setting, and as it turned out would be the first of many huts we would explore on this high country adventure. McMichael's hut. It's a great hut. It's not as old as some of the others. It's quite a good refuge though. Reasonably sealed up. Tin construction. Tends to be a little bit less drafty. Wooden floor, so you're off the deck, on the ground, in the mud, like some of the others. Only a short distance further along Kelly's Lane is Kelly's Hut, a more traditional style of cattleman's hut. This hut had recently undergone some significant restoration, facilitated by the High Country Huts Association and Parks Victoria. This is Kelly's Hut. Had a fair bit of work done on it recently. Let's go in and have a look. The hut restoration involved replacing a number of the upright posts, mortising the original where possible into new subsurface foundations, and fully reconstructing the stone masonry of the fireplace and surrounding structure. The adjoining saddle room received some attention along with the internal wall and earthen floor. The abode would be a sight for sore eyes when a mountain storm rolls in and refuge is required. What an awesome view. Sort of got to be a bit careful, you get a bit of the wobbles up. How cool is this spot? This is Dimick's Lookout. There's Conglomerate Creek down in here, making its way down through the mountains into Wanangata. What a great spot. It's about a 2 kilometre drive off the Howqua Road. It's an in and an out. It's alright, it's well worth the effort to duck in here. It sort of doesn't matter what the weather's like. I mean, today's a cracker. But even coming in here when the weather's a bit inclement, it's pretty specky. Just got to make sure you don't fall off the edge, because it can fog out. We're looking down into the headwaters of the Conglomerate Creek. Winds its way through here, down into the Wanangata River. And it's actually a big horseshoe bend here in the river. So it's coming out of Bryce's Gorge. There's a big bend and heads back north, right up that valley. You've got Wanangata Valley, Homestead Valley over the back there. There's Mount Darling just out the back here, so this is all the Mount Darling wilderness. Very remote country. There's an old track, used to be able to drive way out there years ago, a long time ago. Popular deer hunting patch now, I think. This escarpment country is just fantastic. Dimick's Lookout was named after Sam Dimick, who was the foundation chairman of Victoria's Land Conservation Council when it was established in 1977 by the Victorian government. The purpose of this council was to devise a system for the planning and use of all public land in Victoria. Dimick's Land Conservation Council was responsible for or helped establish the extensive system of conservation reserves and national parks in Victoria that we enjoy today. Check this out. There's an orchid there. Not sure exactly what they are. Even Mum's not real sure what sort they are. It's a trigger plant. There's lots of them out. You'll probably end up with a whole carpet of them. I mean, there's lots out already, but you'll often find that, yeah, you end up with masses of pink. There's a little mechanism that they got, a little proboscis that when an insect lands there, it flicks up and probably plants a little bit of pollen on the insect's butt, and then it flies off to the next plant and rubs its bum on the next one and ends up fertilising it, and get more and more and more of them. It's just a short drive off the Howqua Road, short detour into Dimick's Lookout. track gets too much maintenance. A few big water holes and washouts here and there. It's only a couple of K. It's worth the effort ducking in there. You get in there in a standard four-wheel drive, easy enough. Fantastic views though. A couple of little sort of spots to camp there if you want to. Certainly a good spot for a picnic. Drag the thermos out, pull the billy, whatever tickles your fancy. Our plans are now, we've just had a bite to eat. We're going to get back out onto the Howqua Road and head north. And, it's getting on a bit actually, so we'll probably hightail it down King Billy. And, find ourselves a campsite at elevation, I think. This sort of weather. Maybe up on the King Billies there somewhere. Howqua Hut and the nearby mount and plain bearing the same name were named after Alfred Howard, who was one of the earliest Europeans to explore and document the area. An explorer, naturalist and a pioneering authority on Aboriginal culture, he was also the person that found John King, the sole survivor of the infamous Burke and Wills expedition. William Bryce built this hut in the 1890s, making it one of the oldest huts in the Victorian High Country. It was close by this hut that in November 1918, the body of Jack Bamford, the cook, handyman and suspected killer of Jim Barclay, the then manager of Wannangata Station, was found under a pile of logs, having been shot in the head. This double murder remains unsolved to this day. We'll go down here for poo. Just got to the end of Howqua Road as such. Now we drop down into the McConville River. So the road at that point turns into a track officially. It's the end of the main road. So we just descend right down into the McConville River and then up the other side on the King Billy track. So it's a bit slow, it's a bit rough. The Howqua High Plains sit at an elevation between 15 and 1600 metres above sea level and is capped with basalt. The edges of the plain are abrupt slopes, and it's here on the steep western slope where we find these large periglacial block streams composed of angular basalt boulders, some up to 3 metres in diameter. Periglacial describes a landscape that undergoes seasonal freezing and thawing, typically on the fringes of past glaciated regions. How cool is this?
This is clear. Need your high vis on.
Yeah, can't be seen. If I go in there and can't find my way out, I'll never be found. It's slippery. Find the key, pull the wrong rock and it'll all just come tumbling down. It is all moving very slowly, geological time. It's a river of rock. It's often referred to as scree, but I don't think that's quite the right term for this particular formation. There's a few examples of this, but this is an excellent example of it. In this area out towards Mount Clear and the Knobs and that, there's a few other sites. Similar geology.
Well, how far does it go down? Oh, you just didn't go.
We just pulled up here for half a cup across the creek here. I think this is King Billy Creek, not quite sure, should consult the map I suppose. Pretty sure this is Peters Creek track, old logging road. Years and years ago, back in the 80s, this was a main thoroughfare, major road, log trucks in and out of here. We're going to head this way, up King Billy. Not quite sure where we're going to go tonight, where we're heading for. There's at least some clear country there at King Billy that we could pull up and go the Donga up, or we could keep heading around towards Picture Point on the Bluff Link track, I think it's called, and then find a spot up in there at elevation. Time will tell. And I think there's a bit of a nasty bog hole up here we've got to negotiate too. Oh, we just thought we'd give ourselves a bit of exercise there. There's a bit of a bypass track there, but getting onto it was quite off camber. So I opted to go up the main track, stick to the main track. Yes, there was a bigger bog hole and all that, and it was only because there was a steep wall and I, in hindsight, probably didn't have my tyre pressures low enough. My front wheels were scrabbling around trying to get grip, and I think I'll put that down to too high tyre pressures there. But we had an awesome direct line pull for winching up there, so it did it really easy, and it was a great exercise for us to do it when it was safe, the weather's good, there's no pressure on us, so that's the time to be doing that sort of stuff. Quite a decent hole down there, all full of crap that people have dragged in there, rocks and logs and stuff. Bit of a double step up, and front and rear are trying to climb something at the same time. It was really worthwhile getting some experience in a controlled environment when the pressure's not on, other than we want to get to camp and get a fire going. It was good, did it easy. Tested our systems and no issues at all. We don't tend to go looking for these sorts of obstacles, that's for sure, and we tend to try and find the path of least resistance. And the lads just reminded me that the last time we had the winch out was at Gunshot on Cape York. It's been a while between drinks, it's always good to hone the skills and have a bit of practice. Anyway, let's go and find somewhere to camp. Well, we had a fair cracker of a day. We're on the road for a fair while, but interestingly enough, it's only 140 k's to this point from home. Where are we? We're at King Billy Saddle. There's a bit of a junction at this point, King Billy. We had that little bit of a challenge and kick up just back here, half a k, if that, and I'm not sure if that's in the true definition of things a recovery, because I could have backed out. So we used it to advance ourselves up the track. So recovery in my mind means that we're stuck and we can't progress one way or another. Maybe that's just semantics. Anyway, we've set up a little camp here, an awesome spot. We've got it to ourselves at the moment, right up here on the saddle itself. Sun's going down over here to the west, you would have thought. So that means it's going to come up over here behind Howqua Plains, which is our view this evening, Howqua Plains. And we've got King Billy number 2 just out the back here. It's probably 300 or 400 metres and then 100 metres climb. We might duck up there. If we don't do it this evening to watch the sunset, we might be adventurous and duck up there in the morning. Believe that when we see it. You know, great spot, nice and grassy. Mum's already having a nap. Camp set up. It's time to kick back and relax. Oh. Something a bit different tonight. We're cooking on our Osprey, but we're sort of not using it as a grill. We're just using it as a stand over the fire, a wire stand. Quite a versatile bit of gear. So set the legs up and the basket on the top as a shelf, and you can adjust the height of that just to lower your food, your pan up and down. Just gives it a nice level, stable surface to work with. But yeah, I'm going to have to lower it a bit, I think. Flavour in a packet, good flavours, simple. We forgot the tomato paste, so we've got to improvise. I don't think it'll be a compromise. So we've cooked the rice just on the side there, keep them warm, absorption method, and then a bit of fresh cream. Let that reduce a little bit, I think, warm up. So this is butter chicken on rice. Smells great. That's real good. Jeez, we've set the bar high for night one. woken early this morning in order to catch the rising sun from the summit of King Billy. Since we couldn't be in two places at the same time, we programmed a camera that would also capture the scene from camp for us to review later on. This was like an insurance policy, just in case the summit was clouded in and we would miss the whole occasion. Fortunately, the view from the summit was mesmerising. Our prior preparation to prevent piss poor performance paid off. Perfect. From the summit, the obligatory selfie and panorama shot to be sent straight to the pool room were taken. It's moments like this we cherish, to be able to share the occasion as a family without the crowds, which no doubt we would encounter soon enough once we dropped off the mount. It was, after all, a long weekend and school holidays. With the sun now high enough to warm the orographic surface, the rising anabatic winds were kicking in. This made for a spectacular scene as the low-lying cloud was starting to rise and filter through the mountain passes. We made it! About to catch the sun coming up from the top of King Billy. A bit breezy though. Wow, it's just after 6 AM. This is awesome. Bit of cloud hanging in the valley. Clear, can see every peak. This is magic. We just picked the day, although it is a bit crisp. Should have my jacket on. Oh, this is just fantastic. Everything we'd hoped for and more, I think. Well worth the effort of getting up at 5:30 and racing up here to see this. The fog's just coming through, or the clouds lifting up and coming through the gap here between Mount Magdala and King Billy. Wow. It's actually coming off the top of Mount Stirling. The cloud was just sitting on top of the mountain and it's all starting to lift and flow across from the north. This is Mount Magdala just here in front and Mount Howard out the back. Mount Speculation right in the background here. This is what it's all about. The plan for today is we're going to follow this Bluff link track around. We should get a couple of views before it clouds out. A couple of huts around there we'll have a look at. Lovicks and Bluff Hut. Anyway, let's go.
Of the world, what's in the life you never dreamed of. Even if you never flown before, you can take a chance and try once more. Don't let your worries weigh you down, down, down. You can still take flight.
This is the King Billy tree behind me. It's considered the biggest snow gum going around, and I think it's based on its girth at stump height or at ground height. The kingbilly tree, it's just off the side of the track. There's a little car park down there. It's not signed or anything. Looks like it's having a bit of a new lease on life. Lots of regrowth. It's looking pretty good actually. I wonder if it's putting all this new growth up because it's stressed or because it's actually healthy and getting a new lease on life. It has been a really good season, lots of moisture, continuous moisture through summer. You hope it's not shooting off all this stuff because it's actually stressed and it's on its last legs, bit of a last breath. It's certainly endured some weather. I reckon this old tree, where it sits here, it'd cop a caning, wouldn't it? You camp in there if you wanted to. Yeah. Mount Magdala to the right, Mount Hout in the back next, coming around to the left. You got the crosscut saw, keep coming around to the left. You got Mount Buggery and then right on the back Mount Speculation. Further around you got Mount Kunika and then Mount Cobbler, right on the dividing range. On this side we've got the watershed of the Murray River. Anything that flows down that way is going in the Murray and out to South Australia, and anything that's going over that way, the divide, is going out to the Gippsland Lakes. It's starting to get a little bit hazy. It's not the sharpest outlook today, but we get the idea.
Although you're earthbound, above this crowd, stuck in the dust of the life that you found, with nowhere to go, no higher ground. Even if you never flown before, you can take a chance and try once more. Don't let your worries weigh you down, down, down. You can still take flight.
We've just pulled up at Lovicks Hut. It's a great spot here in a saddle, lush, green, some great campsites. No doubt it gets pretty popular too. Wouldn't be on your own more often than not, I think. It's got that feel about it. Not quite sure how the water situation works. But yeah, I rate this one. Pick your times, I suspect, when you come here. Or be very social. Look at that, that's solid construction. That's 2 inches thick of solid timber. So they've slabbed up a tree and put two slabs to make the door. It's not going anywhere, a lot of weight on it. Well, fairly solidly built, substantial construction. Big RSJs there, huge fireplace. Hook up a few feeds in there over the years, I suspect. Yeah, I think it's been rebuilt a few times, been burnt down. Certainly different configuration to what it was last time I was here. I'm going to say it's a bit smaller actually. It's been a long time since I was here. There's quite an aroma of smoke, sort of ingressed into all the structure, into the wood. It holds the scent. I reckon it should get a bit smoky, a bit sooty in here. See, there's a bit of ventilation cut in above the chimney there to try and create a draft, I suspect, and vent that smoke out. Great construction, pole construction. Looks like it's using all natural materials. I suspect they're being brought up from down below. And clad in corrugated iron. What a great spot. This is a good hut. Stone floor, some big stones in there to pave the floor. A lot of work gone into putting them in. Jeez, some of them will weigh a ton of more. There have actually been numerous huts constructed on this site over the years. The Lovicks family first built a hut here in 1960. However, the family had already endured a long association with the area, having first taken up grazing in the high country in the early 1900s. The first hut built on this site, before the Lovicks era, was built by James Barclay of Wanagata infamy. Lovicks figured that given Barclay was a seasoned and well-respected mountain man, there would be sound reasoning this was a good and proper spot to build a hut that could endure the elements. The remnants of Barclay's hut were still visible when the Lovicks commenced construction of their original hut in 1960. Unfortunately, by 2003, Lovicks Hut had succumbed to the elements and what remained was removed. In 2006, the Great Divide fires swept through the area. Numerous huts succumbed to the inferno. Construction on a new Lovicks Hut had already commenced prior to this fire and consisted of numerous upright poles footed to the ground. This early stage of construction was subsequently burnt. Reconstruction of a new hut was delayed, but in 2012 the Lovicks family, enthusiastically supported by many friends, completed the rebuild, albeit with some design changes to better tolerate the local conditions. The Lovicks family legacy lives on in the form of an enduring shelter for those of us that pass through. Despite needing to be mindful of the overhead clearance, the truck, like its occupants, is right at home in this environment, as though it was made for it. It just meanders along, taking the obstacles in its stride. Due to its bulk and weight, it's possibly a bit less agile, but has enough flexibility and capability to overcome the challenges. A bit like its occupants, really. Drive across here from Lovicks Hut towards Bluff Hut. You're up on a main spur line linking the two huts. A bit undulating, and you know, for all intensive purposes it's a good track. A bit slower in the truck, you just got to meander, wander gently, slowly. But you know, the good thing about that is you get a chance to take in the view, and every corner has got a different view. And it's just opens out in front of you. Come around the corner, bang, there's another one. Turn the corner, bang, there's another one. But spectacular drive. I'm going to put it up there as one of the better drives, or one of the best drives for views anyway, in the high country. Oh, she's getting a bit rough. Getting up a little bit. think it's fair to say that one of the reasons for coming to the high country is the views. When you find spots like this, it's probably the epitome of high country touring and outlooks. So we're on top of Mount Lovick. Well, the summit's just a few metres this way. The road comes pretty close to going over the summit, and you've got views all the way around. It's just brilliant. We're fortunate today, the clouds holding off. It was a bit threatening earlier, but it's holding off at the moment to afford us these views. That's Mount Lovick just behind me there. Oh, it's awesome. Views out to Mount Buller there, Mount Stirling over the back there. This is looking back south, back towards the headwaters of the McConville River. And out the back here you got Mount Clear, which is actually the divide running across there and goes over Mount Clear. Australian Alps walking track heading that way. Fantastic. In 1909, Jim Bullock and Jim Barclay, there's that name again, of Wanagata murder fame, along with 15-year-old Jack Ware from Haqua Hills, began grazing cattle on the Bluff, Mount Clear and King Billy runs. In 1943, Eagly Stoney joined the grazing licence with Jack Ware and drove 300 head of cattle from his property at Darlingford to Merrijig along the Howqua River, following the narrow and dangerous bridle track to the Bluff. During the summer of 1956, Eagly Stoney, Jack Ware and fellow local cattlemen Ray Kelly and Archie Cameron began building Bluff Hut. Jack shaped the local snow gum timber with an adze and broad axe. Eagly's son Graham and his mate Ron Davidson then used a string of pack horses to carry iron and building materials up to the hut from Bindaree. Like an old stable door. It puts a bit of air in, keeps the stock out, keeps the dogs out. Lightning started the Great Divide fires in December 2006. In January 2007, an intense fire swept up the Howqua Valley and through the Bluff Saddle, destroying Bluff Hut. Building began in November 2007, led by the Stoney family, with strong support from local community, High Country Huts Association and Parks Victoria. The hut was completed in time for the winter of 2008. How's this for a fireplace? Have your fire there and you're almost sitting in the fire. Quite deliberate. Oh, cool. Radiating off those stone, the rocks there. This would be a good spot, providing it wasn't too smoky. A lot of work gone into this. I actually camped here years ago, skiing through here, and pulled in here for the night. Those days it was actually a lot bigger, the hut. There was like another wing out the back here, split level. It burnt down in 07, I think. The fires of 06, 07. It's been rebuilt since. It's good that it's been rebuilt in similar character, similar style, taking some of the design ideas from the previous hut, and this fireplace was one of them. I wonder if the stonework's actually the original. Possibly is. This is awesome. Big old yellow box. Wow. Solid. The construction of this is incredible. Tons and tons and tons of wood gone into it. Vertical posts, if you like. So it's got the main uprights at regular intervals, and then the infill appears to be split timbers, some sort of weatherproofing behind it, and then tin on the outside. A lot of work gone into it. So we left Bluff Hut after having a bite to eat, made our way along that Bluff link track. We've turned off onto Refrigerator Gap track. Pretty sure it's going to descend back down to Brocks Road, but we're aiming for Upper Jamieson Hut, trying to minimise the backtracking a little bit, although the little bit of road we've just done we'll have to pick that up again in the next couple of days. Doesn't seem to get a lot of maintenance out this part of the world these days. It's probably only a little bit of tourist traffic and there's no industry anymore, so the roads, which were once pretty major roads, are really reverting back to the tracks. Something to consider when it talks about roads and tracks on the maps. What was once a road might no longer be such. Up at Jamieson Hut. It's a bloody lovely spot down on the Jamieson River. Pretty popular with the fishers by the looks of things. I suspect the clientele of this site's a bit different to some of the ones we've come across higher up. Just going by the type of rubbish and the amount of rubbish. But look, it gets a bit of maintenance obviously. It's recently had the grass cut. No one else here, so it's as good a spot as any. A couple of nice spots in the river. March flies are in abundance. Getting carted away by the buggers. Haven't been here before, so a bit of new country, as was coming down there off Refrigerator Gap track. Hadn't been through there before, so all new country. And it's good to get out and poke around. It's something new to us, and no doubt gets a flogging by others. Upper Jamieson Hut was built by Fred Fry in the 1930s, possibly around 1938 to 40. Fred worked for the Forest Commission and built numerous huts throughout the area to enable him to go about his duties. Fred was renowned as an excellent bushman and craftsman and built the huts using his own recognisable style of hand-split timber and drop slab construction. Fred would roll the heavy roof poles into place over the centre ridge using his horse and a long chain. Having become very run down by the early 2000s, an extensive repair was undertaken by Department of Environment Primary Industry contractors and volunteers of the Victorian High Country Huts Association. This work was undertaken about 2008. Great to just be able to just jump in, walk down here, don't even think about it. It's actually quite nice in, Mum. It's not something that I do particularly easily, is get into these swimming holes in the rivers. It's certainly something I'd like to be able to do easier. The irony is that it's all in the mind, because once you're in, there's actually no issue. Well, in this instance anyway. It's about 26 degrees, so it's not an overly hot day, but when you've been bouncing around the dusty tracks, it feels a lot hotter than it is, I think. But there's a fair current here, and the fact I couldn't swim upstream against it, it was that strong. I'm not a particularly strong swimmer, I suppose. The Haqua River. So we're camped down here on 7 Mile Flat. It was pretty quiet. I think there's people just turned up. We're probably hogging their swimming hole now, but anyway, that's all right. We'll be out of here shortly. There's a number of campsites along Here that we've just picked one, had a bit of shade, which was important when we turned up. It's getting on a bit, it's about 4:30, so we think about getting a fire going and putting the billy on, I think. Won't need a bath for another week now. Well, we've just done something a bit unusual. Gone for a swim in a mountain creek. Only took me an hour and a half to get in, record time. We're fortunate we got here pretty early, a bit earlier, and there was no one else around, so we were able to just go and have a swim in a hole that sort of adjoins one of the other campsites. Bit of shade and the bit of grass was the premium requirement from our point of view. There happened to be a swimming hole. We figure that we spend more time in the campsite than we do in the river, so that's us. Other people might do it differently. We're going to light the fire and put the billy on and kick back for a while. I still hit the ground, it's pretty good, it's a bit powerful. Is that on? Right, got it. We used the Helinox Sunset chairs. They're bloody good, comfy, easy, lightweight, durable, expensive, but I think the cost is worth it because we certainly haven't had a single issue with them at all, and they've done plenty of seat hours. Mum's got an insulated liner that goes in it, just keeps things a little bit warmer, particularly the butt. They do have a mesh back and sides, which is great when it's warm, good for the airflow. In the cooler weather, yeah, you can get a bit of a draft, good bit of gear. They provide the perfect platform for Mum to plant her derriere and nut out the solution to today's puzzle. Just thought I'd sort of run through with you some of the gear that we use for navigating and planning our trips and working out where we are and where we want to go when we're travelling around. For this trip I've got a couple of these rooftop maps, and these are awesome publications that not only do they have the map, but they got lots of information telling you, what's around, goes into a bit of detail. Even in the map data they've got notes and bits and pieces to let you know. So for this particular trip we've got bush huts around Mansfield that sort of give us a bit of an idea of what was over this part of the world, and a bit of backstory to them, a few notes on the huts themselves. And we're also using, as a general broader picture, Mansfield Mount Howard adventure map. There's something on the back as well, I think, Sheepyard Flat Craig's Hut forest activities map. So yeah, we're using these two. They're only small maps, small format maps, so they're easy to use in the car. And we also have the HEMA publication, more broadly the Australian Road Atlas, and it has a couple of sections in it for some of these iconic areas, and this one's Victorian High Country. So you can do a lot of planning and route orientation through these large format maps. And what we do is, I've got a couple of other bits and pieces that we use, make it easier. Doesn't like me when I have my hat on, Face ID. Recently I started using this memory map. It was Stefan Fisher actually put me onto this. Stefan goes into a fair bit of detail in his videos on memory maps, and by all accounts it's one of the better platforms that he's come across. So I thought I'd have a look at it, and it's got the HEMA map set, if you like, all of Australia on it, and it's got exactly the same data on it as what's in the map book there, but you can zoom in obviously, and you can track yourself. I don't tend to use it for tracking myself. I tend to use it, or found so far, haven't had it for long, is just when I'm in camp like this and I want to sort of look at something that might be around, want to zoom in something. It's a bit hard to do that on the maps because you need the glasses, and I don't bring my glasses all the time, my fault. Anyway, good bit of gear there. We're still having a play with that, and we're pretty happy with how that's working. And the other thing I use is, and I have this in me all the time, is my Garmin navigator. This one's the Montana 750i. Special cradle this mounts in on the dash. And the important thing with this is it's got the big red button, SOS. All turns to shit, I can hit the big red button. And it's portable, I can take it out. It's a pretty big platform if I want to start going around bushwalking and that, but I do. And particularly if I'm on my own. For that reason, it's got the big red button. And I can also set it up, well, it's already set up, for tracking. So I can have this running, and wherever I'm going, people at home can see where I am at any given time, and if I get into any difficulty, they'll be able to see and zoom in and work with the authorities, I guess, and pinpoint exactly where I am. But if I push the big red button, the authorities can see exactly where I am anyway, and they'll come and give me a hand. That's the plan. Touch wood, I've never had to use that. Good bit of gear. There's smaller versions. You can get Garmin InReach devices that are much smaller, particularly for walking and that, but this has got the Garmin InReach within the GPS. It's got a good size screen on that. Like I say, I don't rely on it solely in the car because I've also got the built-in 9-inch Alpine system, which has got the HEMA map set all of Australia in that, and all the different layers and maps and things in there. So a multitude of devices for pinpointing where I am, for tracking where I am. But when it comes to it, the planning side of things, I use the maps, the big paper maps. You can sit there, lay them out on the table, you know, see what's right around you, bigger picture, large scale, and I highly recommend having both. If for some reason power goes out and you lose all your power supply, you've still got hard copies. I suppose it's one thing to have them, it's another thing to know how to use them. That's the sort of stuff we use when we're out and about poking around. And this concept, we just scale it up depending on where we are in Australia. Obviously we're not going to take too many high country maps with us when we're going up into East Arnhem, but we'd get the East Arnhem maps, wouldn't we? Or the Simpson Desert maps, or the Canning, wherever it is that we're going, the Cape. Yeah, the HEMA map book, it's got everything in it. I've gone with the A3 size. It's a little bit clunky in the car. It's a little bit harder to sort of work with in the car, particularly if you're driving. I need my glasses to read it these days, so I probably don't use it as much as I should do. But the young bloke likes that. He sits in the back seat and works out how far it is to the next place and what's around us, and he's the chief navigator. So that's in a nutshell what we use. Try and get a selection of them. In this case, the rooftop maps, they're awesome for the high country. Some of the data's getting a bit old though, as it is with all of these maps, I suppose. Anyway, just thought I'd give you a bit of a rundown on the gear we use for our navigation. Morning. It's a bit of a late start this morning. We had a ripper thunderstorm rattling around our ears a bit earlier, and we were confined to barracks for a while. Still in the area, pretty dark out the back here. Still getting a little bit of rain, although it's eased off a bit. We didn't get a lot of rain, but it's enough. We've got a wet arse if we're out and about. It's still in the area, still poking around, still rumbling. Not real sure what it's going to mean to our plans. Anyway, we'll get the belly on, start getting a bit of breakfast into us and see what it looks like from there. It really freshens up the bush, and it's vibrant. The light is awesome. Dark as Hades out the back here, but the light's coming in from the east, sort of underneath it. And real moody. It's awesome. Well, just decided to set in, I think. Still a bit of thunder rattling around. As a result, we've gone for the ultralight setup here. Boil the billy this morning. Keeps it under the cover of the door. It's actually boiling now, so we'll get into it, but it's got to compromise sometimes, I think. Got this misty rain just hanging down through the trees and the sun coming in through it. Just looks absolutely fantastic. It's certainly not cold, it's very warm, in fact it's quite humid, and out the back here it's quite dark, so the storm feels like it's come through. It certainly makes for a fantastic setting once it's all passed through and it's done its thing. Anyway, we're just going to have a quick breakfast this morning and pack down and hit the road, I think. Bit of a late start this morning. Just this drizzling rain after the thunderstorm this morning sort of lingered, so we just sort of taken shelter, slowly chipping away at the pack up. Anyway, the plan for today is, I'm not quite sure what the plan is, but to start with we're going to poke down this Howqua track, Rocks Road, still along the Haqua. It's just down below me, way down below me. We camped at 7 Mile Flat last night. We're going to head back towards downstream towards Sheepyard Flat, Fry's Hut. A few things to have a look at on the way by the looks of things. The diversion tunnel, we'll have a poke around and see if we can suss that out. So exactly where we're going to end up tonight is a bit of an unknown quantity. But, we'll watch the weather as well. We were planning on heading back up high, camping up high, just see what comes of this weather. It's certainly blue sky up high. It might be just a bit unsettled, occasional storm rolling through. Anyway, we'll know when we get there. Steep little track. What have you found here, lad?
The other end of the tunnel. Right here. We saw it at the other end. I can see light. We're going to try and walk through to the light, that is, the other end.
We've just entered the downstream end of the diversion tunnel on the Haqua. Looks like it's probably up to 100 metres long. We can see light at the other end. We did go and have a look at the other end first just to make sure it was accessible and try and work out the lie of the land. Anyway, hopefully our lighting lasts long enough. We'll poke through. Not sure how wet we're going to get though. How cold is it?
Freezing. Almost as cold as the Geelong, I reckon.
Wow, that's cold. Tunnel in the roof, heading way up in the middle of the road. Wouldn't drive along that road with this big hole under it. Interesting, it's all this conglomerate, all been laid down over years and years and years. It's sort of composite of river rock cemented, which has made the formation. There's smaller gravels in the up here, for instance, bands of smaller gravels, bigger gravels down low, and the old timers have come and carved their way through it. All in the name of gold fever. Here's some of the original bedrock here. And the conglomerates have been cemented over top of that. So there's a big bend in the river, on the Haqua River, and they've put this tunnel in where it narrows, where the two parts of the river come close together around this big bend. They've put a tunnel through. The theory was that that would divert the water and leave the big bend in the river dry, and then they'd be able to do their, I suspect it was alluvial, panning, mining. So in the big abandoned river, they would then sluice, pan, extract the gold. There's a number of these occurrences around the state. It's not uncommon. I know of 3, 4, 5, maybe, where they've done this type of thing. So it was amazing what the old timers could do when it come to chasing that gold. You know, we'd struggle to do some of these sorts of things these days. Just inclination, enthusiasm, ability, knowledge. It's incredible what the old timers, our pioneers, were able to do, were inclined to do, needed to do, all in the name of eking out a living. Yeah, would have been tough, you know. This would have been your day down in this hole, possibly with the threat of thunderstorms and the river flooding. You wouldn't have known, really. For the most part, we've been able to walk upright through it. You know, we're 6 foot tall, myself and the lad. We've been able to walk through it, but this last bit here, it's quite low. Having to stoop over, you stand up and sort of show you. So the lad can't quite stand up, he's hunched over, you've got to watch your scone. But I'm wondering if it's actually infilled, whether it was the same height all the way through once upon a time. This is the inlet end, whether it's just redeposited all these river gravels and floods and whatever, I'm not sure. Or they started off short, they thought, bugger this, that's enough of this crouching. Or they started at the other end, all enthusiastic and bold and upright. By the time they toiled their way through the tunnel and got to this end, they were worn out, shagged, exhausted, just wanted to get through, and the tunnel got smaller and smaller. Not sure. Either way, it changes. Keep going. Oh, there's the entrance, exit. There's Mum waiting for us. Oh, it's hot out here.
It is hot out here.
How cool is that? Good little explore. I just want to make it quite clear that I don't show it on this channel, but I've had a lot of experience in cave exploration. I've done most of my life cave exploration, and we don't duck through tunnels like this or caves like this. Not that this is a cave. We don't take that activity lightly. So we did a lot of planning, preparation. Even a little thing like this, a lot of thought went into it. So I encourage anybody that's going to do anything like this to make it considered, make yourself informed. I'm certainly not suggesting let's all go gung-ho and start blazing on through holes and caves and mines and things in the ground. So just heads up.
Something saying that it's different.
We just pulled up at Fry's Flat. Fry's Hut just across the way here. It's pretty big area, but the hordes are rolling in, just leading up to a long weekend, so everyone will be out in their droves. We've got to sort of think about what our plans are to make sure we're not where the droves are. Not sure if that's going to be possible, or we just have to go with the flow. I think we're going to finish poking along the river. We're sort of a bit of a turnaround point now. Fry's Hut is as far down the Haqua as we're going to go. We'll turn around and start heading back up. A couple of little things we want to pick off on our way up the river, and then we'll swing up the hill, head up high. Yeah, I'm not sure where we're going to end up. Anyway, we pulled up half a cup, bought the billy. We didn't get a chance to fill the thermos up this morning just because of the inclement weather, so we just fired up the jet boil. It's handy having that available, doesn't take up any room, secretes away in a corner somewhere there, and on occasions like this where you just want a quick roadside cuppa and you haven't filled the thermos, it's almost quicker actually, but yeah, uses a lot more gas of course. You've got to have the canisters, and if we've already got a fire going in the morning and we boil the belly, fill the thermos up, it's just one less energy source you've got to tap into, I suppose. Anyway, I think we're pretty much done here. We've had a look at the hut. Interesting old place. It's feeling a little bit dishevelled. Certainly not in its heyday anymore, but look, it's probably keeping most of the moisture out. Getting a bit knocked around, I think. It's getting a bit weathered, but no one shuts the doors in any of these huts these days. Though we've found every hut I think we've come across, the doors wide open. Weather can blow in, animals wander in. Anyway, maybe we should just shut the doors. Just climbed back up out of the Haqua. It's a fair climb over not a very long distance, so lots of zigzags, switchbacks. We've just turned off Brock's Road, or I think it's called 8 Mile Gap intersection. Now we're heading along Bluff Link track. We've got to duck back across the Bluff Hut, see if we can retrieve our bit of equipment we left behind. Then we'll retrace our steps a little way and then drop down, back down to the Haqua. What's the name of that track?
16 mile Jeep track.
So that's the plan. It's cooled down a little bit. It was 30 degrees down below. It's 25 up here. So anyway, we'll get back down to the Haqua is the plan. From there, we're not quite sure. Going by the time of the day, that might be it. Turned off Bluff Link track and we're heading down 16 mile track. Should take us straight down to the river. Just looking at the contours, it's pretty much a direct line, and the track certainly feels that it's a direct line. deeper across the track, so fortunately we're not the first through. So I've got it in just low range there. Red stick forward, it's just low range. If I bring the other stick forward, that's low range. So I'm in low first, and I'm not having to brake or anything, just wandering down very slow. I've still got 6 gears to go if I actually put it in low. So this is holding its own in terms of, it's a pretty steep track and it's holding its own. Well, we had a bit of a surprise there, just coming down that section of track. We could see a great big log. It looked like it was right across the track, quite a sizable tree. As it turns out, there was actually a switchback right in front of it. Take a look at this tree. This big old gum tree here. These holes are actually created by branches growing through each other. So there's a big branch out here on the left, the main trunk on the right, and there's branches come through from the main trunk, and they've grown through and connected up with the big branch on the left. They're actually joined up, not just once though, multiple times it's happened. And you can see up higher, it's actually starting to do it again. Just come back in 100 years time, if the tree's still standing, I bet you'll find that branch is linked up just like these other couple have down the road. There's 3 already and there's a 4th happening. And I reckon if we had a close look, it's actually already joined up at the back there. It's unusual to see one, never alone multiple in the one tree. That's just fantastic. I'm stoked. This big old gum tree. It's just threatening the hut. Poor little Bindaree hut's nestled in underneath it. Oh, you can't help but think that one day the old hut's going to wear that tree, but that's brilliant. That's fantastic. You don't see that sort of stuff. And here it is, right on the intersection. We're probably going to kill the tree, love it to death by bloody driving around the base of it, compact the soils. It's endured this long, I suppose. Rotten, that one. Now should be enough there to cook on. Some of that's pretty pulpy, but we'll get enough out of it for tonight, I think. It's not cold, so we're not looking for a heating fire. Cooking up some snags for dinner. We've got 3 different flavours here. One of them will put hair on your chest. I think it's jalapeno and cheese. Nice little bit of kick, bit of flavour. I think we got some rosemary and thyme, lamb, rosemary and thyme, I think it is. And black pepper and Worcestershire. Mum's just thrown together a bit of gourmet slaw. You can smell it. Not sure we'll get through all this lot tonight, but it's what we don't get through we'll have for lunch tomorrow. Too hot to be getting too fancy on the wood-fired cooker. Bit of sizzle. Well, we were woken this morning to a cracking thunderstorm. Actually rained quite heavy as well, so everything's a little bit damp. To that end, we've set up our new kitchen wall in the awning. First time we've had to use it in anger. Set it up there just to keep the driving rain off the cooker. Working quite well. Most impressed, doing exactly what we designed it for. So a bit of a slow start. It poured rain, thunderstorm just cracking around our ears. As a result, we probably a little bit tardy getting out of bed this morning. Fantastic, a mountain thunderstorm. You know, when you've got no threat to your safety or to your setup, you're just secure, comfortable. They're awesome. Different story, I suppose, if you're exposed and challenged by it, but in this case, it was awesome. Fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So a bit of a slow start. We've got to have some breakfast, a cup of tea or two, pack down. Always takes a bit longer when things are wet. Anyway, we're going to head out from Bindaree. We're kicking off this leg of the journey from Bindaree Flat here, Bindaree Hut. We're going to head up ultimately to Mount Stirling, Clear Hills, Craig's Hut, have a look at Bindaree Falls on the way. We'll suss it out on the way, but I think the plan is to have a look at Monument Track. Not sure how this weather affects Monument Track and local access, but anyway, we'll poke along gently and see what we find, and then explore a few huts up in the Mount Stirling circuit area. Not sure where we'll end up tonight. Prefer probably on a river rather than up high tonight. Just gives us a chance to sort of take a bit of refuge if some of these storms keep rolling around. Anyway, we're not sure where we'll end up, but wherever it is, come along with us. Brekkie wrap, bacon, egg, chorizo, mushroom, special barbecue sauce.
We're just poking up the little walking track. It's about 400 metres round trip by all accounts. It's at Binderee Falls. Keep wandering up, there's probably a viewing platform or something we can get in closer to it. How's this? We're behind the waterfall. Binderee Falls. Lucky it's raining today and we've got our coats on. It's getting quite wet here. Bit of water coming over it. I'm not sure if it's had a bit of extra flow as a result of last night's thunderstorm. Or whether this is normal, whatever it is, it's pretty spectacular. This is a beautiful bit of bush. It's almost rainforest. Huge tree ferns down there, lush, south facing. You don't see much sun. Certainly doesn't appear to have been cooked by bushfire, which is a bit unique these days. This is beautiful, just fantastic. Nice little walking track, well maintained. Now this is a cracker spot. Very popular, a lot of people come here. It's easy access, and I certainly rate it. Come up Binderee Road, hit the Stirling Circuit Road, effectively gone straight across that. We'll start to climb up the Monument track, the intention of getting up to Clear Hills. So they say this is a bit steep, this track, maybe steep and rocky. We'll see. There's been a fair bit of rain overnight this morning, so I'm not real sure what that means for this track. Anyway, we're just going to poke along slowly, feel our way. So what I've done here, just to get a feel for the track first, I've just selected low range. I'm in third gear and I've got the centre diff lock on, so that combination seems to be a pretty good mix for this particular track. It's not overly steep so far. Third gear seems to be able to handle it comfortably. Still got another whole range to go yet if need be.
IVECO Daily is right at home in this terrain with plenty of ground clearance, exceptionally low gearing, twin diff locks if needed, and aggressive Federal Explorer rugged terrain tyres provide ample traction on the slippery surfaces. Find the truck is most comfortable and capable if we simply plod along. It's easier on the truck and easier on us. The last thing we want in conditions and terrain like this is a mishap, either mechanical or technical. We do have a persistent front end clunk when ascending, and most of the weight is over the back axle. We've yet to diagnose the source of this annoying clunk, despite way too much time lying under the truck pondering the options.
Just been over and poking around in Craig's Hut. It's a recently iconic hut of the high country, built for the Man from Snow River movie in about 1981, I think it was. Anyway, the crowds rolled in, as did the clouds actually. Anyway, so we've just ducked over the back. We're back on the Clear Hills track heading towards Mount Stirling. We're only 300-400 metres from the car park for Craig's Hut. And there's a series of these cracking little campsites just nestled in the snow gums. Only beautiful, particularly on a day like today where you've got this misty cloud rolling through. It's fantastic. So we've just pulled up. We've got lunch getting prepared over there, and probably have a half a cup, and from here we're going to head across Clear Hills track back towards Mount Stirling, I think, and check out a few huts over there. Heading from Craig's Hut, we've gone across the monument, and then we're heading across towards Mount Stirling, and ups and downs and freshly worked track. It's in very good condition. As a result, it's a bit breezy and it is raining. A couple of little kick ups are quite steep and certainly test out the traction. And there we just had to throw the rear diff lock in. Probably could have put the front in, which would have made it even better, but of course you lose a bit of the steering when you've got the front diff lock in, so I sort of err on the side of have we got enough traction without it or not. In hindsight, we probably should have had it in. Bit of mud slinging. Might just pull over here and go for a little hut just over there. Have a look, Geelong Grammar School hut, I think. This is Geelong Grammar School hut, on pretty much on the summit of Mount Stirling. The summit's just out the back here, 100 metres. Just right on the edge of the tree line by the looks of things. It's in very good condition, obviously well maintained by Geelong Grammar. Timber top, I suspect. Awesome big sort of open fireplace there, no doubt for doing a bit of cooking on. A little pot belly stove here. They can get quite toasty and warm in here. Good supply of wood. Quite a different ilk to the other huts that we've visited that had a heritage based on cattle grazing and maybe timber harvesting, that sort of use industry you might say, whereas this is very much an education focus. And I feel like the hut represents far more than just a refuge and accommodation. I think it actually represents a lifestyle. A lot of people that pass through these programs have a awesome ability to engage with the outdoors and understand the outdoors, and it's just a fantastic grounding. It's all about building resilience, and we all have our meltdowns I suppose, but having exposure to these opportunities as a school group coming up here and spending a week, I suppose, I don't know how long they spend here, but you can imagine they do, all packed in, horrendous weather, blowing, snow's probably up halfway up the windows, and
I've got to venture out just to take a pee. No doubt the kids get fat in the gills before they want to bloody brave the elements and go out. It represents so much more than just a hut and accommodation or a hut in a high country. It represents a lifestyle, I think. Very fortunate, those that are able to go through these sorts of programs and get that exposure early in life. I'm preaching a little bit to the lads. It's hard to imagine having, what you count, 15 pigeonholes?
15 kids,
No
5
doubt.
staff.
There's another 5 staff, so 20 people wedged in the leak over the back there. Whose bed's that one? It's probably one of the teachers too, or the naughty kid. Oh, it'll be cosy. Bit of smoke filtering through the hut, your eyes will be stinging. There's a loft upstairs here. Obviously all their sleeping accommodations upstairs, side by side, strewn out over there, packed in like sardines, and 4 singles downstairs. Wonder who the teacher is that draws the short straw that's got a camp upstairs. They probably put their tent up outside. Geelong Grammar School hut. Actually camped in here many years ago, ski touring up here on Mount Stirling. First time I ever come up here to Mount Stirling. Multi-day overnight ski tour. We crammed in the hut, but it wasn't with school students, it was with other punters on the weekend in clement weather. Fantastic. This is cool, 1720 metres above sea level, the summit of Mount Stirling. That's getting up there from Victoria, and it's certainly a very accessible summit. The summit of that elevation, it's not necessarily all that easy elsewhere to get to. Anyway, 1720, over the back here. Ski resort. Thumbs up, Mount Stirling.
Howqua Gap Huts. There's a couple here, there's an older version and a newer incarnation across the way. It's a bit hard to see, I haven't got a light anymore to show the insides. I've lost it recently up on Bluff Hut, so I've lost my good light. And it's as dark as Hades outside at the moment. It's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's 100% of heavy rain, and it's living up to the forecast, which is possibly a bit unusual. And this old donger is, well, we've seen better days, but it would certainly keep you out of the weather in a storm, which it happens to be doing right now. King Saddle Hut, which is interesting refuge, day visitor, picnic area if you like. I think what's most impressive about this part of the world is the mountain ash. The trees are just fantastic. Heaps of them, straight as a die. Bit of a rare sight these days. King Saddle Hut, or day shelter, is an octagonal construction open on one sector. Fashioned from local mountain timbers, it hosts a sizable combustion wood heater and a couple of picnic benches and seats. The primary use of the hut is as a refuge for the hordes of cross-country skiers that frequent this area during the depth of winter. We've had to hunker down a little bit tonight. It hasn't eased up raining all afternoon since about 3 o'clock. It really settled in and come in pretty hard actually, about 3, turned day into night. It's eased off a little bit now in terms of intensity, but still pretty wet. So we're going full gas mode tonight. It's not cold, so we thought, well, we can cook on the gas. Don't need to light the fire just for the sake of it. If it gets cold, we always can. So we've set up the whole awning and our new sidewall. It's made a big difference, keeps any draft out. The lad set his swag up underneath the back there. It's pretty protected as well. And this is a good configuration. We've still got another wall if we wanted to put on. We could put it on either the front or the back. That's why we built these extra walls for these occasions. This is a great spot though. We're down at Razorback Huts. We'll have a look at them later on, maybe even tomorrow when it winds up a bit. They're out the back here. The old timers have set up shop in there for the night. It was a bit wet last night apparently, so they're trying to dry out. It is a long weekend now, so I expect to see some crowds turning up at some stage. We're going to only do the single night here, wander on tomorrow. That's the plan anyway. This is clearly a popular spot for the horsies. Good set of yards there. There's actually a couple of horses and riders over the back there camped. They've set up their own portable yards, but by all accounts you get some fair groups coming through here, and Razorback Huts seem to be set up a bit of a dormitory style accommodation for these big groups that come through. Not sure how that all works, whether they book them or first come first serve, not sure. But what is most impressive about this place is the setting. It's nestled in amongst these woolly butts, and they're fantastic. It's great to get in these stands of trees. I suspect this is actually all regen. They're not that big in terms of girth, but they survived fire and looking good nick. That's really lush, this part of the world. You probably get that feeling when it's so wet like today. Adds to the ambience, I guess. Some great forests on this Stirling Circuit Road.
Another rainy afternoon, I don't know what I'm to do. I just miss you more than anything. It's way too quiet in the house. I'm just wasted on the couch, 'cause I don't wanna feel anything. Wish you'd stayed here beside me. This isn't how it's supposed to be. Wish you'd stayed here right with me. I can't shake that feeling that we said goodbye too soon. I know the hour's getting late. I shouldn't sit here contemplating. I just can't stop thinking about us. I won't forget a single thing, from drunken nights to Sunday mornings, and how you smile at me. Wish you'd stayed here beside me. This isn't how it's supposed to be. Wish you'd stayed here right with me. I can't shake that feeling that we said goodbye too soon. How it's supposed to be. Wish you'd stayed here right with me. I can't shake that feeling that we said goodbye too soon.
Time to dry out. Wow, that was a wild 12 hours. 15 hours. 18 hours, whatever. About 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, it came in as dark as Hades. We're coming off the back of Mount Stirling down the Howqua Gap track, and it just turned to dark, turned to night. So something's coming, and then it opened up. Bang! Poured. So this is the aftermath. We're just trying to take stock of everything. Trying to start drying a few things out. There's a bit of a breeze around, so that should help. Last night we sort of, tail between our legs, went and ducked over into the Razorback Hut there. A couple of welcoming fellas there. Steve and Jace opened the door and let us in. They made us most welcome. We came bearing gifts, a bit of firewood. They had a good fire going there, keep them warm and dry, so we joined them for a little while, bored the billy, swapped a few yarns. Keen fellas out and about. It was awesome. Good to meet you fellas. That's what these huts are all about, isn't it? Providing a refuge and a bit of a safe place, somewhere to get out of the weather and a bit of respite. We certainly appreciated it, because it was getting a bit ordinary sitting here under our awning. It's too wet for a fire. It wasn't particularly cold, admittedly, but yeah, just miserable wet. So, new day, new dawn. Not sure what we're going to be doing yet, but first things first, cup of tea. The lad actually got one in bed, spoiled rotten, the bugger. A little bit of collateral damage, not too much I don't think, but a couple of bloody good sticks fell out of one of these woolly butts and landed on the roof of the truck last night. Sort of 2-inch round logs, pulpy sort of things. Just a reminder that, you know, these things happen, and look up. Camping around here, you're a bit limited to keep away from it. That's no excuse, I guess. You've got to be as safe as possible. And in hindsight, we had a look over the tree straight up above the car this morning. The tree directly behind us is riddled with big dead branches. You know, in the heat of the battle last night when we pulled up here, it was pouring rain, it was miserable, it was just wanted to get set up. There's not a lot of flat country, so you sort of can't be too choosy. And then, yeah, in hindsight, there's a big tree directly above us that's got a few nasties in it. Well, here we go again. Just packed up our camp at Razorback Hut. It's a great little spot amongst the mountain ash. Very weathery. Very wet. Anyway, today's a new day. Feels like the sun wants to come out. There's a bit of a breeze around, so it's starting to dry things out this morning. Plans for today are, not real sure, but to start with, we're heading along this number 3 track road, number 3 road, out towards number 3 hut, Tomahawk Hut. It's all a bit of new country for us out there, I think. And we might end up back on the King River somewhere for tonight. Might be standing room only, it's a long weekend. Not sure how it all works around these parts, but that's what we're here to do, is check it all out. Learn the lie of the land, bit of new country. We've got some great views. Clouds lifted a bit, some great views out here to Mount Cobbler. The original plan was to head out that way, but I think the clock's going to beat us somehow. Anyway, come along, we'll see where we get to. The Mansfield Nordic Ski Club's request to build the original hut started in 1981, and finally in 1985 they were granted permission with strict conditions that it be a public refuge hut to be left unlocked. It should not contain facilities that would encourage people to camp at or stay overnight. The hut should not exceed the dimensions of 4 metres by 5 metres, and it should be built in a way that would permit it to be relocated if necessary. The original hut was built near the intersection of Mount Number 3 Road and Weston's Track at about 1500 metres above sea level. It was built of vertical weatherboards and had an iron roof and veranda. Some of the construction items came from the mess hall at the old forestry mill in Mirambar. Unfortunately, this hut was burnt down in December 2006 by bushfires. In response to community suggestion, the new number 3 refuge hut, rebuilt in 2008, was built 1.5 kilometres south of the original number 3 hut site. It was built by members of the North Eastern Trail Horse Riding Club, who volunteered their time and skills in the design and construction of the new Mount Number 3 refuge hut, with the DSC acknowledging the members' commitment and professionalism to the project with a plaque inside the hut. We're on the top of mountain number 3. It's about 1600 metres above sea level. We just pulled up here for a very late brew. It's a slow start this morning. It's a bit of alpine grazing going on there. Here in the media there is no such thing. Not sure how that works, but anyway, there's plenty of grazing going on up here. State forest. This is awesome. We're up in the snow gums, 1600 metres or thereabouts, maybe just shy of that. Big crew turned up there just before, horse riders, like a tour group. Looked like they were having a bit of fun. Great day for it, great country for it. We've been most impressed with what's on offer over this part of the world, the northeast, out of Mansfield up into the high country there. There's no end of opportunity to explore, and tracks and horse riding, bike riding, walking. Just walking, there's tracks everywhere. Single trail. Most impressed. Great country, up high, extensive areas to explore.
great spots to have half a cup. We rate it. Tomahawk Hut. That's a, well, A, it's little, but it's classic, I'm going to say. It's actually been built with round posts, poles, and I suspect it's all mountain ash, dead straight, locally sourced. It's a whole hut apart from the door and the window. I reckon it's all been built out of locally one material. The big mantelpiece. Wooden floorboards. They've probably been off to the mill to get off to the sawmill to get milled up, but come back back into the forest. Built by Arthur Dale, who was the first forest officer in the Mansfield district in about 1927. There's no shortage of huts around this part of the world that seem to have his influence over the construction. By all accounts, he travelled widely around the patch and established this network of huts so he could go from hut to hut, I suppose, and do his job. Didn't have to be particularly salubrious, just had to serve a purpose, to which this no doubt did. Classic log construction, tin roof, little skylight, and I suspect that's been put in more recent times. Open fire, it's actually got a steel lining in it, so that would have reflected a bit of the heat back in. Bit of brickwork out the back, veranda out the front, and an old rocking chair. I always liked the mantelpieces of these old huts that have been cut out of a great big log, nice big slab. About 3 inches thick, that one. Interesting, it's not burnt, whether it's been replaced or there is a sheet of tin under it, so maybe that's enough to protect it. Tomahawk Hut. So we left Tomahawk Hut. To eat there, bit of lunch, made our way back up Carter's Road, and I think some maps, that last bit call it Carter's Extension, I think. Anyway, Carter's Road. Now we've turned on to Western Track, and the plan is to make our way down to the King River, somewhere around Pineapple Flat, I think. All new country, so we're just following our nose and following the Hema, seeing where we end up. It certainly feels like the path less travelled is Westerns. It's
Until now it's been logging roads.
Yeah.
This is definitely getting into full drive track territory. I just stumbled across this place. We weren't really expecting it. There is a hut marked on the maps, Purcell's Hut I think it's called. And there's a bit of signage around here saying it's a hut used for the cattle mustering. Oh, I think it said the McCormick family. And they have a series of trail rides and things by the looks of it that they run through this country. We might have seen them actually up the top on number 3. Mount number 3. There's a crew up there, McCormick's trail rides, and all their trailers and things well set up. And this is possibly connected to them. It's a bit of a 3-sided donga, and it's got all the gear you probably need. Be a great spot if you're on a trail ride and looking for a bit of refuge on an inclement day, or all day with your bum in the saddle. And no doubt when they're mustering the cattle, there seems to be quite an extensive grazing license. We certainly passed some stock further back. So hats off to them for allowing people to camp here. There's a few signs about looking after it, and don't throw all your shit in the fire, take it home with you. And they've posted up dates when they will be here doing their mustering and trail ride activities. That's quite an extensive area. There's yards and a bit of shedding around, no doubt, to store their fodder and whatever for their activities. It's good to know these places are around, and if you're in the area and need to take refuge, you can. A few creeks here, might be on a bit of a junction, certainly a creek just as you come into the flat here that the hut's positioned on. You cross a creek, plenty of water, been some big timber cut down in its day, the remnants of some huge timber. Would appear to be a bit of a makeshift reticulated water supply, probably a water ramp, poly pipe up the creek feeding some header tanks and things. A bit of a donkey over there, fire up for a bit of hot water, and got all the gear, quite salubrious. I was most impressed by the size of some of the logs here being felled, a bit pulpy, rotting up the guts, trying to keep the place safe I suppose. Well, we're up for a bit of an adventure. We decided we'd camp at this place. We've never been here before. Pineapple Flat, and it's Australia Day long weekend, so it's going to be a pretty sure thing that we weren't on our own, and we're right, we're not on our own. Anyway, we wanted somewhere early to pull up. Well, there's still a bit of sun out as we're that wet after 12 hours of constant downpour that we just needed a bit of sunshine, a bit of breeze to start drying a few things out, particularly the swag and associated bedding. Anyway, it's all good, sun's out, guns are out, Might have a roast for tea tonight. Why not? We've got plenty of time. Just chilling out Australia Day. Thought about having lamb chops, but we've got plenty of time for a roast. That's as Aussie as it gets anyway.
Hut's built out of stone chimney.
I think we're actually going to go multicultural. So we've got Greek, lamb. Smell it already. So we've got our Greek style lamb on the wrap, obviously. Bit of fresh spinach, bit of homegrown green stuff.
Spring onion?
Spring onion. And then plenty of that, as it's the hero ingredient after the meat. And then some red stuff, in this case tomato. This is going to be to die for. And then the next hero ingredient, bit of tzatziki, how do you say it? Tzatziki? Tzatziki? Tzatziki. And then it's going to burst all over our lap. Oh, it smells good. And we'll go like this, and like this. How good's that, eh? That fit for a king. Today we find ourselves travelling the length of King Basin Road. In actual fact, it is a typical high country track, traversing the King River with multiple crossings, the occasional mud hole, but in essence, it's the epitome of a classic high country track. Winding our way along the valley floor, each crossing has an open grassy flat, perfect for establishing camp. And given it is a long weekend, each one of those prime campsites is occupied by long weekend revellers. And half their luck too, as the weather has turned it on. Quite the contrast from a day or two ago. Of course, the approach and departure at each of the crossings has been impacted by the ever-changing course of the river. The exposed river gravels and cobbles required deliberate wheel placement and certainly give our suspension seats a workout, but we're certainly grateful for them.
could easily have pulled up stumps at any of the crossings and made ourselves comfortable. That, however, is going to have to wait. Our high country adventure is drawing to a close. We're still on the wrong side of the range. One thing's for sure, we'll be back. While we have some awesome sights on the southern fall of the Great Dividing Range, we're finding there's so much more for us to explore in the north. The original King Hut was built by Jim Hearn, about 70 metres north of the current location. By the 1940s, the hut was a bit tired and needed some attention. By the mid-1950s, a much larger two-room hut of weatherboard construction had been built by cattlemen to replace the dilapidated slab hut. The weatherboard hut was constructed by George Robinson for Fred Ross and other cattlemen in 1957. Unfortunately, in 2008, this hut burnt down by fault of some careless users. A rebuild took 2 years to plan and was a cooperative effort between the High Country Huts Association and Parks Victoria. Over Easter 2011, some 14 volunteers and Parks Victoria staff effectively completed the build. This new hut is completely insulated and sits on the same footprint as the old hut. This new hut stands testament to the vision and efforts of many that recognise the value of well-maintained and accessible huts spread across the high country to provide important refuge and help keep us alive when conditions or circumstances become dire.
So this morning we've just been wandering along the King Basin track from Pineapple Flat to King Hut. It was a great little drive, certainly not the first to do it. Bit of a popular track. Yeah, it's awesome, just meanders along the river, crosses the creek river half a dozen times, and culminates in a nice grassy campsite at King Hut. A few people around, being a long weekend. Certainly not packed there by any means. So from here we're just going to head back up onto the circuit road, and not sure where we're going to end up, but we'll poke along and keep exploring.
Well, that's us done. Clear Hills and Craig's Hut, a few iconic sites there, and some good tracks actually, up and over Mount Stirling and the Monument Track, and then out over Mount number 3 and down into the King River. Awesome, great camping. We had some pretty ordinary weather at times. We had some awesome weather as well. It's no use being fair weather campers, although at the time you do question the merit of being out there in those conditions. Makes us more resilient and helps us set ourselves up for when those times are inclement, and maybe they endure. Anyways, we're going to wrap it up there. It's been awesome, 4, 5 days, 6 days, whatever it is. We've still got a day or so to go before we get home, but we'll just poke along slowly. For all intensive purposes, we'll park it up here. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy this one. It's probably a long video, this one. Thanks for watching, appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Give us a thumbs up, that'd be awesome. Hit the notification bell so you get a heads up when the next video is coming out. Give us a comment down in the comment section, what you think, what your thoughts are. Share amongst your networks too if you can. It helps get our emerging channel out there, and we appreciate that. So anyway, thanks for watching, appreciate it. Look after yourself. See you next time.